Good afternoon and welcome to Retrograde. Today we are going to be refurbishing an OMC Johnson twin line tank, at least partially refurbishing, redoing the connector, new line. And I expect not many people are probably looking for this, not many people will watch it, but that's what I'm working on today. Figured I'd film it. So let's get to it. The main part of the tank that fails are these. The twin line fuel connector. These old pressure tanks work by using two lines, one for fuel, one for air. Essentially, the engine pumps air into the tank, pressurizes it, and that forces fuel in through the fuel line. It does this rather than using a vacuum pump. It makes it more reliable, I think. These are fairly reliable when serviced. It's a fairly simple design. OMC used this for a number of years, I think basically all through the 1950s and into the 1960s. And they essentially quit making these because of the fire hazard they pose.
More than 40 boats have been damaged or destroyed by this fire.
Anytime you've got fuel under pressure around flame, it's probably not a good thing. People are sissies. So we'll be getting into this. The main points of failure, obviously the fuel hose can rot, crack, and break. This actually is original hose. Sometimes this can fail. I haven't had a whole lot of issues with this top section. Obviously the cork float can get soaked with gasoline and ethanol and not float and cause the fuel gauge to not read. I'm usually not as concerned with that. Sometimes this can leak gas, leak fuel around the seal here and squirt out when you prime it. But again, I'm not too concerned with that either. It actually looks like it's fairly solid or it's stuck. Well, these usually don't leak at all, huh? Interesting. All right, well, let's ignore that for now. So if you want to clean these out, you can toss them in the ultrasonic for a short period of time, clean them with carburetor cleaner, starting fluid. I love being lazy and tossing things into this ultrasonic cleaner. I did find, though, if you throw them in for a long time with the heat, it'll actually strip the paint clean off. So yeah, as you can see here, it'll actually take the paint clean off of them. So if you want to repaint them, go ahead and throw them in that ultrasonic cleaner and just leave them in there all day. So I'm going to rebuild this connector. It's all cleaned up. So a very useful tool to have doing this is this guy. I actually found this as per suggestion by a professional rebuilder. This is a rebuild tool from a company called Richard's Outboard Tools. And as far as I can tell, it's a small outfit, but this is a handy little guy. Makes it a lot easier to hold these. It's got the this part for sticking down in and knocking these out, which you'll see. It holds the fuel connector like this, and it also holds it this way. Very, very handy. The cost is 30 bucks, which some people may scoff at. Yeah, it's a real simple part, but I have better things to do with my time than to make tools like this. I'll gladly spend $30 on that, and I've been happy with it so far. This is a little flimsy and can bend. As far as I can tell, it's just a cut-off portion of an Allen wrench. But aside from that, I've had very good luck with this thing. So let's get our supplies. We've got that. This came with 2 O-rings, which is really nice that they included it. However, I like to rebuild a lot of these. So I went on a nifty little site called McMaster-Carr, and I bought these guys. This was probably, I can get the price, but you're probably talking $5, $10 maybe for a whole bag of them. These are standard O-rings, Bunan O-rings, I believe. And a whole bag of 100, that'll last a lifetime. I'll put the part numbers for these in the description. But yeah, this will last a lifetime, and it says 15-year shelf life is what they're rated for. I wanted to try these also. I went above and beyond and also got Viton O-rings from McMaster-Carr as well. Viton tends to be a little more fuel resistant. These do feel a little more stiff. You know, probably overkill, but I just wanted to order them since they were available as well. For now, I think I'm going to see how long these hold up. So if you look, these are the new O-rings. You can see there right beside the originals, the ones that came with the tool, dead nuts. So first thing, let's go ahead and see if we can't disassemble this guy. I need to take that screw out there. They, pretty funny, they even added this little screw here to retain the little punch. Handy if I do say so myself. So, let's see. So the first part is going to be knocking these out of there. And these are simply just a press fit. Some of them come out harder than others. Hopefully I don't bend or break my punch tool, but we'll see how it goes. So, you can see on this tool that the retaining pin fits on the latch index hole. Actually, go ahead and take that screw out. That way, there's no chance that it interferes with it. Set that aside. So now the screw's out of the way. You go ahead and line that up. You see it sits down there. Now, give each one a good swift hit. The key that I found is to hit it hard. Hit it pretty good. Give it a good few swift whacks. All right, so you can see that's through. And I'll go through what came out. Get your tool out of here first. Pull that out, and it may, this is the issue, is this bends a little bit, so I have had issues and needed to straighten this back out once I've done it. You may need to grab this pair of pliers and get it out. Like I said, if it gets bent, you may have to put it in a vise, kind of bend it and work it back. So now we can see the order of what's came out of here. You've got your spring, and then you've got these parts that fall out like so. That which goes in your O-ring and seals off. You've got your washer, and then you've got your O-ring right here. Then you want to go ahead and you can just take that O-ring out. There we go. Yeah, this one's not rotted, but it's definitely hardened up, so good thing to replace it. Some of these, if you'll notice as well, some of these fuel connectors do have removable barbs, but some of them don't. They're press fit. I mean, obviously I could have pulled these off and got a larger punch back in there, which makes it easier, but I decided to go ahead and use the tool there. Then that's a little bit more of a universal approach, because not all of them have these removable barbs. About half of them seem to. So then at this point, you can go ahead and wash all your parts out. I like to use engine starting fluid. Carburetor cleaner works fine. I like to use starting fluid. It cuts as well, but it's a little less harsh on rubber components. I don't know, it's just as cheap, cleans really well. It doesn't eat gloves as much as carburetor cleaner does. I also like these plastic picks a lot. You know, you can kind of dig in with them and not worry about scratching your mating surfaces and stuff like this. So these work really, really well. Really, I'm just trying to get any of that dried up oil or any dirt residue that may have gotten stuck in there over the years off. So now we are going to reassemble this. This is where the fixture doubles. So now the fixture holds it for reassembly. All right, so we'll start with the right side. First thing you can see goes in the spring. Drop it down in. Drop the spring in, make sure it goes down in the pocket fully. And then we can grab the plunger and put that on. So you can see there, the plunger slides down in the pocket. Now, you're going to want to put the O-ring into the brass cup. I've always found that some of this, like silicone grease, works pretty good. Kind of lubricates it, helps it just seat a little bit. I don't know. Doesn't swell rubber seals or anything. So a lot of times when I'm doing this, I'll go ahead and coat the put a light coating of this silicone grease on the O-ring, and then I want to put that in there. All right. It also might help to smear. You get a little bit around the outside edge of this too, help it press in better, keep it from galling and wearing on the aluminum. It's never a bad idea. That goes, the washer goes behind it like so. Now let's see if we can do this. So you've got your spring and plunger, washer goes in. Try to get it started as straight as you can. So this is a neat tool to have. These are handy. This is a bearing driver set off. You can get these on Amazon for a fairly reasonable price. They basically come, with a bunch of different size inserts to drive bearing seals and things like that in. You could use a socket. If you're in a pinch, but for the sake of not getting ripped apart on the internet for doing that to my tools, I'm going to opt to go with this because I also have this laying around. So then I can get my my driver tool on, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we go. Oh, what the f. You can also make sure that these are each free. Push each of the plungers down, make sure they move. Make sure they look like they seal off against the O-ring. It should be good to go. That O-ring is going to keep fuel from coming out when the tank is sitting. The connector is also going to seal on the engine side and keep fuel from leaking out at this interface as well. One thing you want to make sure to do as a safety precaution, these tanks are pressure tanks. So when you're done on these, you actually want to crack the fuel cap and let the pressure out, and that also keeps pressure from building, so that if you have an issue on your fuel connector, it won't force fuel out. If you have this fuel cap closed and that tank builds pressure, it will force the fuel out. It pushes the fuel up the line, and if this does not have a very good seal, it will actually force your fuel out through the fuel side. Okay, so we brought this tank outside here. I'm going to go ahead and replace this hose. Like I said, these do have issues sometimes with the primer there. It can leak around it, but in my experience, that rarely is a problem, and I'm not going to fix what's not broke. So unless I get a monumental amount of people wanting to see part 2 and how to rebuild all this, I'm just going to leave it as is and let it ride. Oh, for sake. Yeah, cut that. All right, so as I was saying, these almost never have issues with this guy leaking. Yeah, so as I was saying, these are almost never an issue, you know. And so what you really want to do is just make sure, you know, you can pump some of that old gas out there. See the fuel flowing out of that. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and remove the old fuel line off this guy. You start by first prying these little clamps off. I like reusing these. I don't much care for hose clamps and zip ties that people normally do on these tanks when they don't have these original connectors left. I like the OE look, so I try to reuse these when I can, and I've also been buying, you know, a few of these connectors as well on eBay and sourcing them whenever possible, saving them, salvaging used ones, getting new old stock, because I always like to use these on the tank and on the motor where they were used. So you kind of got to get in here and pry them apart. So you really just want to get that off of there. Try not to score your hose barb up really with your pliers. There we go. As I said, a little challenging at times. Oh, there we go. All right. So, surprisingly, you can still buy fuel line for these. I believe Sierra is the only one that makes it. I don't think OMC does. There is the OMC part number. The Sierra part number is 18-8051. Now I can tell you this stuff used to be a lot cheaper years ago, back in 2010 to and previous. And since then they still make it, but the price has gone up a lot. I probably spent, I think I just bought a 50-foot roll, and I think I spent over $150 on it, if not $175 or more. The price per foot's gone up on this. I bought a fair amount because I have a lot of tanks, and I like it's useful to have around, and I also don't know how much longer they're going to make it. So this is what it looks like. I've actually had good success with this stuff. I know some people frown on Sierra, but I've had good luck with this fuel line. It's not ribbed. It's not marked ribbed for air and fuel like the original OMC stuff is, but from my understanding, to my understanding, this is the only fuel line still available for these tanks. Someone correct me on that if I'm wrong. I'm going to go ahead and cut off, I don't know, 5 or 6 foot section of this stuff for this little tank, and go ahead and put that on with the new connector. You'll also want to make a thin slit and split it right down the middle. Obviously being careful not to cut your finger or cut into either side of the fuel hose. And really you just need to go down. Yeah, so we're good. Just enough to split it to attach it, and really you just need to go down 1 inch or 2. That's about it. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure, if I can get my camera to focus here, that these are fairly round. You don't want them you don't want these terribly oblonged. If they are, you can squeeze them back in with pliers, and then if you squeeze them in too much, what you can do, you can always open them up with a pair of needle nose, like so, before you go to slide them on the hose. You also want to make sure that the sides are fairly straight to each other and not cockeyed. You can also bend these once they're on. Yeah, so you want to go ahead and slip these little clamps on. Slide these back just a bit. All right, now, doesn't matter which side goes on, which one, as long as you keep it straight to where it goes. You know, you'll have to keep it straight when you connect it to the fuel connector, to the fuel air connector, actually. It's a bit tricky. Helps if you just kind of wiggle it a bit. And then other side. Make sure it's straight, make sure the two sides are straight. And I always like to, you know, really get it to where it looks fairly even, fairly nice, fairly round. And really, you saw how hard that hose was to get on there. These don't need a worm gear hose clamp to stay put when the hose is new and in good condition. Helps to have a little bit larger blade screwdriver when you're opening these up. Perfect. Next, go ahead and slide these on. Make sure they're round, make sure they're opened up, like we showed earlier. There we go. Now, got our connector, fuel, air. This always takes a little bit of cussing and influencing. So, I had to start it and then realized my camera wasn't rolling, so I don't have Andrew here to say rolling, so I forget to turn it on. It's the downfalls of working solo at the moment. Oh, you son of a bitch. Okay. Flip these around so they're on top. Fuel to fuel, air to air. Great. Fantastic. I have my garage doors shut because the neighbors and commotion of being in a city, children, sirens, dogs are in full force. So, it's getting a little hot in here. Nice and even crimp. Nice looking, you know, looks good, looks factory. All right, we still got fuel in it. So now what we want to do is we'll go ahead and prime this connector. We'll see if the button leaks, see if this guy leaks. So basically we're going to pump it till it gets solid. Like nothing coming out, no leaks. Our connector's good. Maybe it should get better with use. There you have it, folks. One refurbished tank. One refurbished fuel tank. There you have it.